Festival Big Mick here, and it's time to talk about new orcs again. Although this time it's not a leak. All right, let's get into it. For those of you who are new to watching these, or especially the replays, how this works is we get the live stream up. We take a few minutes to let everybody get on, and then we get going. So, if you're rewatching this, I would recommend fast forwarding a couple of minutes or so. You can usually see down on the bar, like where everybody starts chiming in, and that will get you to our discussion, which tonight happens to be Wazdakka Gutzmek. Yes, you heard it here. I think we're looking at something interesting. So we'll get into that in just a second. Let me get the link up to everybody and we'll go from there. Hey, Shats in the Dark. Let's go. Burn Denali. Hello. Always one of the first one. My man. Empire 501st. Dude, the memes you want to know. Wait. Valrak's memeing me? Empire, what are you talking about, man? What are these memes? Send me links. What's going on? All right, let me get the beepity boops. Hey, Keith, how you doing? Now, I will admit there's been quite a few people that have said that this is Wazdakka, but there's a lot more people that are saying that these are like different different models for each picture. And I really don't think it is. And I actually have evidence. You guys know how I like my evidence. Come on now. There we go. Kerpow. All right. For those of you that are not on the Discord, you should be on the Discord. For those of you that are on the Discord, you will notice that right before this went live, Discord got a bunch of updates. There are now a whole lot more text channels for the New Year, New Army contest. So if you are one of those people that plays Age of Sigmar, there's now an entire Age of Sigmar category with Order, Death, Destruction, and Chaos. I think those are the four things, as well as a Spearhead specific place to talk. And then the Blood Bowl section is now all specialist games. You'll see that Kill Team, Necromunda, Warcry, Underworlds, and Old World all have sections in there. And now there is a new section for non-GW games. So far, I've got Trench Crusade, Conflict 47, and then everything else. If there's a game that's popular enough to have its own little channel in there, let me know and I'll get it added in. But yeah, I'm starting to get a hang of this Discord thing a little more. So I went ahead and made sure we had everything set up for the contest and for people to have places to talk about their stuff. All right, the lighting in here is terrible today. What can we do about that? All right. That'll work. All right, guys. Okay. Holy cow. Catch up to the chat. There's a ton of you on here. Let's go. Hey, T the Hut. Started a GSC army themed as Necromunda Ice. Ooh, I like it. Two of my favorite things, Necromunda and Gene Stealer cults, which, I mean, Gene Stealer cults should be on Necromunda, but you know what I mean? Like, just, I love the Gene Stealer cults army, and I love Necromunda. In fact, I was inventorying my stuff earlier today because I was trying to get a handle on like what all I've got and where like needs to be and stuff. And I've determined that I own more Necromunda kits than kits for some of my armies. I don't even play Necromunda, but they just have the coolest dang kits, especially the terrain. In fact, I got another one. Let me show you. You guys. I give you platforms and walkways. So these are platforms and walkways. I think these are the things that are underneath the hab modules on the what was that kit where they were like out in the wasteland Mad Max style, that starter set. These are like the modules, the things that go underneath the modules. Walkways, and I think you could combine them with those hab modules. I really want to get a set of those, but I found a set of these at Mine Taker for a really good deal and couldn't resist, had to pick them up. So yeah, added that to my Necromunda collection that now includes at least four kits for terrain, plus quite a few actual guys. So, maybe I should just start playing Necromunda. All right. Captain says that I should be called Old Big Scoop. Scooping the war boss. How cool was that? How cool was that? I'm still just like on cloud nine about it. In fact, since we did our live stream, our surprise emergency live stream on Friday, we ended up getting mentioned on Auspex Tactics, and then a bunch of you guys shouted me out on Kirioth's chat, which earned him coming to the channel and liking some things. So yeah, it's been really super cool. All right, let's get this set up as my timer, and there we go. That'll be a good goal. Let's go. All right. Yeah, Blade Runner cyberpunk vibes for sure. I think that's what I really like about Necromunda. Yes, and Ash Waits. Thank you, Tiki Dut. That is the name of that one. Ash, you trying to loot everything? You dirty, dirty Death Skull. Don't you know that there's squigs right here? In fact, that squig that ate the War Boss box, you gonna risk that? He's gonna take your leg. Not really. He's gonna sit there sleeping. Yeah, CJ agrees with me. Not really into Necromunda, but the train is the business. And yeah, the gene stealers that came out for Necromunda are on point. On point. All right. Let's talk about this. Not a leak, a thing that Warhammer community said they were going to do with their post on Friday that we made them do about the War Boss. And so today's thing was a new sighting. Actually, Kirk, I'm a goth. All of you. Not if you loot and stuff. You ain't no goth. You dirty, dirty Death Skull. DC reviews. I view Necromunda as the cool kids game. Totally, it really is. All right, let's get the screen share set up here. We'll do that. Bam, bam, blam, blam, blam. Give it a second to get caught up here. All right, looks like I can see it already. Can you guys see it? Can someone give me a hell yeah? Hell yeah. Let's get down to business. All right. So me forgot to pull up my second channel here. Give me a sec. There we go. Okay. There we go. I looted a bathtub. Nice, Savmaster. Nice. Okay. Here's what we're talking about. New orc bits cited. So remember Friday when we got to look at the new orc war boss? Oh, I remember. I remember very, very well. We'll get back to old war boss here in a second. But back then we promised more orky goodness for you this week, and we meant it. Interesting that they said week there instead of days. That's interesting. So it's time to power up your bionic eyes and take a good look and try and work out what they're about. So let's take a really good, close forensic look at these photos. So here is photo number one. This here is a grot. And what I saw online was a bunch of people saying, oh, grot bikers, let's go. Okay, first of all, yes, grot bikers would be absolutely awesome. And I'm totally on board. We should have grot bikers. However, this is not a grot biker. If you look at his hands are right next to each other, and they're both to the right of the vehicle. They are not like this, like a handlebar. They are like this. You also see that he is sideways. He's kind of like this. He's like standing a bit, right? Yeah, he's not front ways on. You could see both feet. You could see his little red belt buckle there. He is definitely sideways. Now, that being said, what you're looking at here is very bike looking. Now, you can't really make out a whole lot of what's going on behind him, but it definitely looks like there's some sort of like exhaust pipe or suspension piece or something right by his handhold. And then there's some mechanical gubbins behind him. And then you'll notice he's got a big old wrench flying behind him for some reason. I don't know how that thing's attached. It looks like there might be a tentacle or something. And he's also got these goggles on. He is definitely some sort of hanger-on rider thing. So either he's operating something, although I don't think so. That's the other thing I've heard is people are like, oh, he's operating a turret. Where's the firing buttons? Even orcs have fire. Like if there's no trigger to pull, you can't make DACA noises. Okay. He's not firing anything. All he's doing is holding on to a bar that does not appear to actually do anything. He's just a hanger honor. Okay. So that's him. Now let's move to the next one. If we can here. Just go down, scooch over, come back, scooch back up. All right, so here is the second thing. Now, this is very obviously a power claw. Any blind to get can see that. You can take an eyeless squig and he's going to tell you that's a power claw. Now, the thing is whose power claw is it? I've seen some people say, oh, that's Yarick's power claw. It's not Yarick's power claw. Yarick's power claw, even though it is an orc power claw, the Imperium had restored it, blessed it, resuscitated it. When they redid the Yarick model from second edition to third edition, they very much cleaned his claw up. He went from the great big giant lobster claw to an orc claw that was somehow appropriately sized for a regular human, and they beaky it up a little bit. All right, so just understand that. So this is definitely a power claw that is on an orc still. You can see the scratching, you can see the denting, you can see the big old chonky rivets. Now, some people have said, hey, the claw could be from that new war boss that we just saw. No, it's not. The new war boss claw that we saw was a different design. That was kind of one of the things about it, is that it was a little bit different. And it was kind of longer, whereas this one is kind of like short and fat. So this is definitely a different power claw. Tiki the Hut says it's red, not black. Ha 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 ha. Yarick's claw was red. Yarick's claw was red. His lobster claw was definitely red. That's what was called the lobster claw. But I'm pretty sure the third edition one was red too. Now my model is unpainted right now because I stripped it and reprimed it, but I do have Codex Armageddon. Yarick. Where is Yarick? There's Gazgul. Oh yeah, that's right. Yarick wasn't actually printed in this. They made him after Gazgul. Okay. Yeah, there's the Imperial Guard pages. I gotta go get the Imperial Guard pages. I knew it. There you go. Straight from the Imperial Guard Codex. Old Baelai right there himself. That is a red power claw. He's the dude right there. All right. So Yarick's claw is red. That's what everyone. This air's deader than me, old grot. Sorry about that. I had to find that because somebody said that Yarick's claw was black. Yarick's claw is not black. It's red. Okay, so that's the claw. Now let's go to the third photo. So the third photo is titled Orc Cannon with a question mark. This photo is the most interesting one. Got someone memeing me on Discord? What? Who's memeing me on Discord? What y'all laughing about? Do I need to come in there and zog someone's head off? What are you guys doing? While I'm live streaming, you're in the Discord? He's tagging me and everything. Oh, stinking Valrak. All right. I got to share the for those of you not on the Discord, so you can see what we're looking at here. This is the meme. So that's Chapter Master Valrak right there. I assume this is in one of his live streams because he's got his daily goal giveaway up there. But yeah, there's chat talking to Valrak, the guy who found the orc box on the floor, who we all know is our purple squig, who wants to remain anonymous, and then way down at the bottom, drowning in the pool, completely unloved, is old Big Mac. Right? That's what you get. That's what you get. All right. Back to our gun. Back to our gun. So this DACA gun is really amazing. And their Games Workshop thing says custom orc cannon. Now, the reason why this is interesting is if you really look at it, you could see these like red, almost teeth things on top of it. But you can see that it's got some sort of a mechanism on it to kind of move it up and down, hidden underneath those teeth, right? And then below that, you see some actual teeth right here. There's like a jawbone thing or some teeth right here on the bottom, almost like a bee snag, a decoration, right? Which is very, very interesting. Now, some of the war bikes have a much, much older version of that. Okay. Oh, Frog King wants to know if that's a Grot's foot. That is definitely not a Grot's foot. If you look right here, where the top of the foot thing is or teeth thing is, it clearly is like all cut off, and then there's a metal piece there. And if that was a Grot's foot, this cannon is literally on the ground, right? So that's not it. No, this is a jawbone. So these are like old teeth on an old jawbone as a decoration. This thing is definitely not on the ground because you could see the bottom of it. And then right here, this is the mechanism I was telling you about. You could see there's like an axle that goes this way, right? And that allows it to hinge right here, hinge up and down, so that gun is definitely movable. Now, you'll notice that there's a sight on the gun, right? The gun kind of looks like a little mini version of the Gorkanaut gun, or the gun that is on the Nemesis Dread Knight, that rotary thing. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So good old-fashioned 3rd edition Codex Orcs, Wazdakka Gutzmek here in the back. He has a custom Blasta. In fact, if you read the little thingy here, Wazdakka's bike has been upgraded with a captured twin-link autocannon. This is not the twin-linked autocannon. And custom Blasta built by Wazdakka himself. That's what this is the custom Blasta. These may all be fired at the same time at the same target. As for the war bikes, the guns are all limited to a maximum range of 18 inches. Now, we've never had a model of Wazdakka Gutzmek, despite the fact that we have Wazdakka Red, which is supposed to be the reddest paint on the, in the whole universe. Okay. We've never had a model, but you do have this artwork. Okay. And this artwork in the 3rd edition rule book, and this is not the only artwork, I don't think, but this is definitely one of the most seen, because I think it was about the latest one done, shows the twin-linked autocannons, one on each side of the bike, just like the really old Gorka Morka bikes, and does not show his custom Blasta at all. Now, notice it's not called a custom Mega Blasta, right? It's not one of the normal already existing orc guns. It is specifically a custom Blasta built by Wazdakka himself. Here we go. All right, McFadden, thank you for that. Got a super chat from McFadden, says, you sure it ain't a Space Marine lieutenant on bike? No. It's Marnius Calgar on captured orc bike. That is the model we're looking at here. Actually, so Marnius Calgar defected. He got tired of being usurped by all these other random Ultramarines guys and Rabute Gilliman. And since they weren't going to use him anyway, he joined the Orcs, and now he's called Marnius Calgork. So, or no, Morkius. Yeah, there we go. Morkius Calgork. And he is now an Orc boss. Okay, so there's the gun. Now you see why I think the gun is Wazdakka. Let's go back to the claw. Now, again, Wazdakka has a claw, right? And in his war gear, it's just Power Claw, regular old Power Claw. And there's actually no special rules for the claw. It is literally a plain Jane Power Claw. Now, again, looking at this is a pretty plain Jane Power Claw, as plain as Power Claws can be, right? You know what I mean, though? Like, it's not overly done like the new War Boss is. In fact, let's pull the War Boss's claw back up here so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. So again, look at this. Notice how the claw, like how wide it is here, with, and then you've got your three fingers, and then how short this way. Okay, very, very short. Now let's look at the War Boss, the new War Boss claw. Marquise Calgork unironically rules is an orc name. Someone needs to use that. I will get Best Grot right on it. All right, so here's the new War Boss claw. Now, assuming the width is the same, that claw is so much longer. It is like a whole forearm as opposed to the one we just looked at that was more like a glove. Okay, so this is a War Boss Power Claw that's on foot, right? That's being swung around kind of slow. Versus this is the claw that we're looking at that's new, that looks a little bit more nimble. In fact, if you look right here, there is a round piece that looks like the claw is able to rotate really well. Right? Yeah, exactly, Metal Skull. Wrist versus forearm. This is more like a wrist claw than a whole forearm claw. Okay. So that again leads me to think Wazdakka Gutzmek. Now, back to the grot, which everyone in the chat knows exactly where we're going with this. This is Fix It, Wazdakka Gutzmek's companion. He's got a grot with him. In fact, you can see him in the artwork right there. Let's make sure we can see it on the chat here. All right. So there's our little grot friend. And the special rule is called Scrabla. And it says Wazdakka's war bike is kept clean and shiny by his Gretchen assistant, Fix It. In combat, Fix It hangs on for grim death. Hey, what is this guy doing on the screen right now? He's hanging on for like near death. And helps keep the bike going by hanging off of it as a counterbalance, or even jumping off and pushing occasionally. To represent this, Wazdakka may reroll difficult terrain tests. Now, look at this grot who's holding on for dear life. Look at his wrench that's flying on his back there. And tell me he is not ready to jump off and push this bike. Right? Come on. This is Wazdakka Gutzmek, which is amazing. Okay. All of you know I am a huge speed freak. I mean, the name of the chain is The Red Ones Go Fast Stuff, right? Okay. Speed freaks are my number one thing. Speed freak box, right? Gorka Mark box, right? That's what we're all about here. Wazdakka Gutzmek getting a model would be massive. This would be the biggest orc character release since Gazgul got redone, and the biggest new character probably in memory, honestly. Okay, it is so cool, so cool. Now, what does this mean though? Because that again, we've been talking about orcs are the 11th edition antagonists. They're in the launch box, all this stuff. Why would Games Workshop be showing this off? Well, remember that right now we are in the narrative campaign for the end of 10th edition. And I want to roll you all the way back to 8th edition. The narrative campaign at the end of that included one of the Necron Satans. Right? It was like one of, if not the last model released in that edition. And lo and behold, who was the antagonist of 9th? It was Necrons. Okay, so having a model come out right before the new edition is not unheard of, especially recently. Now, part of this narrative release has been not every faction has gotten something new, But the factions that have gotten something new have all been very similar in that it has been a character, right? We just got the twin lances for the Tau. You got that the dude holding the orc head for the space dwarves. There was the Chaos Red Corsair guys. Of course, they got like almost more like a whole faction, but that all started with the character himself. You got, of course, Captain Titus having his like WWE walk on the platform cloak with all of his hanger-ons, right, for the Ultramarines, right? So everybody's been getting, if they get anything at all, a character or a character in an entourage. Now, orcs need something, right? And you're not going to put a special character in the launch box. And we don't really think we're getting many special characters in the re-release because there's so many regular units that need to be done. Games Workshop has been saving the characters for actual narrative events that are moving the lore for the game forward, right? So it makes a whole ton of sense that if Games Workshop was going to give us a special character back, or an epic hero, or whatever the heck they're called these days, that they would do it now. And this would be our one model for the end of 10th edition for this whole thingamaroo, right? Now, all that being said, regardless of whether or not Wazdakka comes out at the end of 10th, beginning of 11th, whatever he's doing, lots of people are saying online, well, then what's the point of the Death Killer War Trike? That is actually a really great question, especially if you have not been around this hobby as long as I have. The Death Killer War Trike definitely has a place in the modern orc army. It hits like a ton of bricks. It actually has a lot of DACA to it. It's got great close combat ability, but it's huge. They are on a night base like all of the other buggies. Hate it or love it. I personally hate it. I do not like the bases on the buggies at all. And in fact, if they get rid of the bases, I will literally rip mine off of the bases and repair the plastic as needed. I hate the bases. The only reason I've even lived with the bases is that I've posed almost all of my orc buggies and bikes popping wheelies. And popping wheelies is cool. So, I just kind of think of them as, mini dioramas. But I digress. The Death Killer War Trike is just way too big, especially in 10th edition 40K, 10th and a half edition, really, because their terrain rules have changed so much. And remember, in competitive 40K, you have a standardized layout. You don't get to choose your terrain. It's not like the olden days. When I started playing this game, the players alternated setting up terrain, or somebody would set up terrain, and then the other person would get to pick where they're defending, right? So you were going to make it fair, because if you didn't, the other player was going to get the good spot, right? Like, that's the thing, right? So terrain used to be really cool. Now it's not. Now it's all L-shaped runes, and they're all super close together. They're so close together, you can't actually get the Death Killer War Trike through. Now, that being said, war bikes can. War bikes are on the new oval base, but the new oval base is not that big, and it does fit between all the little L runes that Games Workshop is using right now. So, if you have a war boss on war bike, he is going to be a much smaller presence on the tabletop as far as like literal physical model, so he can fit through places better, and ergo your actual bike squad can fit through places better. All right, so it's going to be faster. It's going to be way more nimble. You're going to have an easier time keeping your models in, not base contact. What the heck is that called? Coherence, in unit coherence. Remember, if you've got more than 5 models, they have to be double coherent. You can't run a 6 model long train. It's got to be 3x2. They got to be within coherence of 2 other models, not 1, right? You try to do a war trike, unless you put the 6 bikes around him, it's not going to happen. Right? So getting a smaller bike model makes a ton of sense for the leader. Now, again, my prediction, completely baseless prediction. My prediction has been that the war boss in the actual 11th edition launch box is a generic war boss on bike. I did temper that with, there could be like the war boss on bike coming out later, not in the launch box, and being a full build kit with an option to build the the special character of some sort, potentially Wazdakka. Now that we're seeing Wazdakka, it's like, whoa, okay, maybe that's coming the other way around, and now this kit is going to be Wazdakka or a regular war boss on bike. I don't think it's going to be a regular robust bike. I still think that's going to be in the launch box, and it's going to be a mono build, monopose kit. So Wazdakka is going to be his own thing, his own part numbers, whole whatever, and his bike might be a little bigger, like a little chopper style instead of like just a regular bike. Whereas I think the War Boss on a war bike that might be in the box is going to be much more like a standard bike. Hey, Larry Smith 3900, thank you so much for that. Much appreciated. That is our third super chat this live stream. As you guys know, if we reach our goals on the super chat, the almighty YouTube algorithm rewards us by pushing this out to more people, thus helping the channel grow, thus getting more orc players in here, thus making the WA energy even better. So everything you guys do, whether it's watching, liking, commenting, and especially throwing in those super chats, helps the channel grow immensely on YouTube. So Larry Smith said, just got my more Wazdakka shirts right here, as modeled by Old Big Mac as usual. This is the 3D version and sticker, future magnets. Ah, yes. You're going to make a magnet out of the sticker? That would be rad. I've been looking at making these into magnets, but I don't just want flat magnets. You guys remember the old school fridge magnets that were like line art, but the lines were raised and the magnets were like two colors? We've got the vector art for all the art because, again, all of our art is made by real artists. I drew every pixel of this myself. BenBam did the Wazdakka and the Goes Fastas, and then Velgarn did the Old Big Mac. Because it's all made by real artists, of course, we have all the vector graphics. We can make like black and white, essentially, or two color or more simplified versions of these designs. It would be sweet to make actual 3D fridge magnets. So that's something that we've been kind of working on in the background. I can tell you, we are working on a brand new shirt right now with a new artist and another brand new shirt right now with another new artist. So I am very much looking forward. Don't get me wrong, love BenBam. We're going to keep using him. We're still going to like make BenBam stuff. But I love getting the different art styles, right? Like BenBam's got a style. I've got a style. Velgarn's got a style. The more styles we can get in here, the more like cool stuff we're going to have, the more that people are going to find things that they like. So we're working on a brand new one to come out hopefully by the end of the month, and then one to come out in the summer. Shimblora says, hey man, awesome stream. Just want to say thanks for all the orcs tips and tricks. You are welcome. We will get to more tips and tricks at the end, toward the end of the stream. Right now, we just got done talking about the breaking orc news on the bits that was released today. And then we're going to get into the war boss a little bit, and then we'll come back to the tips and tricks. So in fact, let's go ahead and head over to the war boss now, or back to the war boss. We already had him up once. Click this button again. Thank you, by the way, everybody, for hanging out with me these live streams. My early ones were a little rough, and you guys helped me with getting new hardware and new software and better lighting. And these live streams have grown immensely because of that. So really want to thank you for your support, not just, with the channel and monetarily, but like literally with like what to buy and how to do this. So that's been awesome. All right. So here's the war boss himself. We talked about this on the live stream. What am I doing? I'm trying to move it on that screen. There we go. I'm an idiot. Here's the war boss himself. They didn't give us any more photos of him than what's on the box. But I did want to point out a few things that we have learned since Friday. All right. One thing one of you guys pointed out was the whole arm actually interchanges. So if you look right here, in my original video, I talked about how this tunic piece was identical and the little stitches there. But what I neglected to see was that the actual arm is different. If you look at like his muscles right here, everything is clean on this one. And then he's got the straps with the bullets on it. If you go down here to the other arm, this arm has a scar in it. Okay. And the actual, much different angle. And then obviously, he's got a different weapon and all that. So this works just like the arm in the Monopose Boys knob. If any of you have bought and built the Monopose Boys, the knob that's in that kit, he's a really big, really nice knob. He's got an arm that is a power claw, or he's got an arm that is a pistol, and the whole arm actually changes and it sockets in and out of that tunic area. So it's really interesting that they reused that concept on this guy. Um, Other things that they told us in this is that there's going to be a bunch of gubbins that switch out on this even more than what they showed. And they have showed that the, like, again, the WWE style belt changes, the little tabard thing on it changes. There's decorations you could put on the knee pads and stuff. Obviously, the big gun itself has a bunch of different options. Like this one shows the rockets with the twin shooter. And then this one, you've got the Scorcha, right? So different options on that. Um, and then different heads, even more heads than what they showed you, and then different banner pulls. Now, the boss pulls is interesting because they give you all the different boss pull options in a lot of the kits right now anyway. So it's nice to see that they're keeping that going so you can have the different boss pulls. They've even done clan specific ones, which is a lot of fun. So, you know, you have like an actual snake for the snake bites, things like that is really a nice addition. Metal School says, hope there's more bits for shoulder pads. Oh, I bet there is. In fact, let's look at the shoulder pads because I think they might even be different. You've got this kind of chevron shape with the two rivets. Then this one's got some bullet holes in it. And when we go down and look at this, oh, they're the same. Two rivets and bullet holes. Okay, so the shoulder pads themselves might be different, but I could totally see them having decorations for them that go on top. That'll be interesting. Of course, it is a nice big flat area. If you've got any kind of shoulder pads or add-on gubbins from your bits collection from all your other orc kits, which of course you do, you'll be able to add whatever you want on here. And there's a lot of add-ons because, like, if you look at this one, he's got just the plain leather belts and just the plain knee pads. And when you come to the alternate one here, this guy's got like the necklace with the teeth. He's got the bandolier bullets added on. He's got, you know, the little chain thing added on with the squig. He's got this add-on knee pad with the big skull on it. So there are a lot of different options there for that. So, you know, definitely like can't wait to see the actual kit that it will have a lot more going on with it. Hey, Alessandra. So Alessandrani says, found your channel through Porthammer. Just want to say huge thank you for being super informative and helpful with orc kits and tips. You are most welcome. That's what we are all about here on this channel. Having fun, saving teeth, kit bashing cool things. We're all about the hobby. And a lot of us here, me especially, our bread and butter, what really brings us joy about this hobby is getting that plastic crack and chopping it up and putting it together in all sorts of crazy and zany ways that look the business. That's what we're all about here. All that kit bashing, all that conversion. That's what we're here for is the models. So we don't often whine about anything else because we don't really care. We're going to play our narrative games and our beer and pretzel games and whatnot. But yeah, we are definitely all about the models here. Bolt Thrower, hey, what's going on? So hyped for new orcs. Let's go. You got it. I am hyped for new orcs. Well, so we've had a good look at the new sneak peek orc bits. We've talked about how it's probably Wazdakka Gutzmek. We've talked about what that means for 11th edition on the lunchbox. And then we went back and looked at the war boss photos a little bit more clear now that all the hype from Friday is over. So I'm going to open the floor up to you guys because I think we got about half the time left here. And yeah, tell me what it is you want your answers to. What can I help you with? What kind of tips? What kind of tricks? What is on everyone's mind? And old Big Mac will prognosticate and give you those answers. We do have all the old stuff. We can go to the source and get you answers. All right. Pulsar, who's going to face the orcs in the new box? Probably Titus. No, not Titus. The new box is rumored to be painted as Blood Angels. They're going to be generic Space Marines in the box, but they're rumored to be painted as Blood Angels. The only box sets that have not been straight up standard vanilla Space Marines, like the actual models, is the Battle for McCrag set, the 4th edition starter. Those were specifically Ultramarines. They had U's molded in them and all that stuff, which people didn't necessarily care for. So in 4th edition Assault on Blackreach, they went back to being just generic Marines. And then and then we had some problems because 6th and 7th edition were both Chaos versus Dark Angels. And Dark Angels, I mean, really Dark Angels. It was like a Raven Wing, super specific, and those sold terribly. That's when 40K literally almost died. If it wasn't for Age of Sigmar, Games Workshop probably wouldn't be a company right now. Those are some very dark times. So those launch box or those starter sets sold terribly. Ever since then, 8th, 9th, and 10th, the actual protagonist side, the Beakies, the Space Marines, have been generic, can use them in any faction Space Marines. So you're not going to see any kind of named character like Titus in the launch box. All right. McFadden says, do you think that Blood Angels, Word Bearers, and Crusade Era Thousand Suns have colors that are too similar to use in a mixed army? Well, let's see. Blood Angels are red, unless you're Death Company, then you're black, or unless you're the Sanguinary Guard, then you're gold. Word Bearers, I don't know what color Word Bearers are. And then Crusade Era Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns were not always blue with the gold. I'm not familiar enough with the heresy stuff or the chaos stuff to really make an opinion. But that is an interesting mixed army anyway. Like, what you doing with all that? What's the lore behind that? I mean, Blood Angels just yell Horus and kill everything that looks slightly chaotic. So that would be a really interesting way to try to put them together. Oh, Ashley Kirk asked, did I see the Silver Skulls in the Discord for the New Year, New Army? No, I didn't. I need to go look at that right now. Silver Skulls is one of my favorite Space Marine factions. I painted one up when I first got the Grots into 40K. The local Games Workshop store, which unfortunately is now closed, gave me a whole bunch of the build and take Space Marines. And I brought them home to the Grots, and everybody built one and painted one, and they all chose a different paint scheme out of the Codex, the 3rd edition Codex, actually, because they really liked that double page spread with all the different chapters on it. They really wanted me to do it too. And at the time, I hadn't painted any Space Marines in a decade or so, and I decided to paint Silver Skulls, and they turned out really cool. So I really liked that. So yeah, they're still one of my favorites. Now, let me guess. You probably put that in the Space Marine section. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's get this shared so that everybody else can see Ashley's Silver Skulls, because these are nice. These are dang nice. Oh, let's see. Bingo. Pop that over there. That should pop up any second now. Metal School says Word Bearers are red and silver, and Dirt Hermit says all of them are red based. Yeah, I would say that's too similar in a mixed army, honestly. The thing about mixed armies is you want them to be different enough that people can tell. So, for example, Beskrat has an Ultramarines army, and he really got tired of painting blue and gold. He wanted something else, and he started painting something else. I think Crimson Fists that are blue and red, and they are darker blue. But it was like, buddy, you can't tell who's a Crimson, who's an Ultramarine, because you painted them so similarly. Like, you really want to pick something totally different. So we're opening up codexes. I was showing them like some Sons of Ultramar and Mortifactors. I don't even know how many different Ultramarine knockoffs there are. But we were looking at all those, and it was like, pick one that the paint scheme is really, really, really different, right? And that's going to look way better. And that's the same advice I would give you, McFadden, is if you're going to do Blood Angels, mix them with stuff that are not red based, right? Like, mix them with something totally different. Even like Blood Angels and Flesh Tearers look too similar, really. I've seen a couple armies like that with squads of Flesh Tearers mixed in, and it's just kind of, it really muddles it. You want something totally different. But anyways, these are Ashley's Silver Skulls. This is the next batch to get painted. Looks like we got a Terminator Captain and another Terminator Captain. Some Aggressor dudes. Yeah, those are all the Gravis dudes, and the Gravis dudes with the flight packs. I really like the armor silver color you've got going on. Has a nice tonality to it. Those should make some really nice silvers. So that's cool. So for those of you that don't know yet, We are doing a contest called New Year, New Army, or New Year, More Orcs, depending on what you are doing. And it's very, very simple. I like to keep my contests very low barrier to entry because the whole point is to encourage you to engage in the hobby and love it. So here's the concept: New Year, New Army. If orcs are your main thing and you've been painting orcs forever, uh, pick something new. You don't actually have to go buy something new. You don't need to go give Games Workshop, you know, $170 for a combat patrol, whatever. You could get something out of your own pile of shame that you already own. You could pick up an old project that you've let languish. You can go buy used minis and strip the paint off of them. I really don't care. But what I want you to do is post up on Discord in whatever section your non-army is, what you've got right now. And again, you can have it already started. You could even have most of an army for all I care. Okay. The point is to engage in a project that you either have never engaged in before, or it's been a really, 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 really long time since you have. Right. Like I'm doing my beagies, I'm doing some Space Marines. I've built a bunch of Space Marines this time, but I haven't painted any of mine ever. So even though I've got 3,000 points of built Space Marines, it don't matter because none of them are painted. They're never going to see a tabletop. So my goal is to build and make test schemes and come up with what my paint job is and actually get my first couple of squads painted before 11th edition drops. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Pick what you're working on, go post a photo of it right now, tag me in it, and go, hey, here's what I'm starting with. Here are my starting pieces. Here's what's already built, or here's what I've got that's in a box. Here's what I'm rebuilding, whatever. And put what your goal is. Now, it's not graded. No one's going to come by at the end of the contest and be like, "You said you were going to do 2,000 points, and actually you only did 1,972 points. Ergo, you don't get in the contest." No, that's not how it works. The point of putting the goal out is to give yourself something to measure for. So that at the end of the contest, when you post what you have done, hopefully you've made good progress to that and you can feel really good about it. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen for everybody. Life gets in the way. You know, you might break something, hopefully not. But the point is when we get close to 11th edition, we'll announce when the end date of the contest is. And everyone will have, that little bit of chance to finish up, post their photos, and then you can grade yourself on how you did, and hopefully, again, be really proud of your accomplishment on what you have painted. Now, the other half of the contest is called New Year, More Orcs, and that's because I do recognize that a vast number of you on this channel are brand new to orcs thanks to my infectious personality. You've decided to join the WA. And so you probably came from some other game system or some other army, or maybe you're just brand new to 40K period and you just picked up orcs and you haven't really gotten an army together yet. In that case, you're totally cool. Just do the orcs. Just do the orcs. If you are brand new to the orcs or you haven't done your orc stuff in a long time, by all means, you can enter with the orcs as well. And how it works is at the end of the contest, everybody that's on Discord that has posted their before and after photos is going to get their names put in this hat right here, and I'm going to draw them out, and we're going to have winners. So it doesn't matter how good of a painter you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how many models you do. Everybody that enters has the exact same chance to win. And what I'm going to do is I've ordered two, or will order two launch boxes for Warhammer 40K 11th edition. One for me and one for you guys. So the grand prize winner is going to get a launch box, and I'm not drop shipping it from somewhere. Games Workshop isn't providing it for me, or I'm not sponsored. Are you kidding me? That they're not real happy with me in between the War Boss and our other projects going on, right? So I am just spending my own teeth, my own money on a second launch box at full retail, and I am personally putting it in a box and mailing it to you, which means you can enter anywhere in the world, because guess what? Old Big Mac knows how to actually ship anywhere in the world. So yeah, no restrictions on the contest. I can ship you the box. I might take the cellophane off of it if we're still doing crazy dumb tariff stuff, because I live in a really dumb country at the moment, to kind of prevent you from having to pay anything. That's the whole point. You're supposed to get it for free, right? So we'll do whatever we need to death skull it up and make sure we get it, smuggled in, paint the box purple, whatever we got to do. But we will get you that launch box. Now, we're going to have more than one winner. Again, I have new shirt designs coming both right now and in the summer. So we'll probably be giving away some merch from the merch store, at which case I would have the make it to order like they do now, and ship it to you, and it just be on old Big Mac. as a celebration for you guys for getting your armies going. So that is our contest. So if you haven't entered yet, come up with your game plan, get on the Discord, go to the little category for whatever you're working on. It doesn't even have to be Warhammer 40K. We have a category for Age of Sigmar with all the different Age of Sigmar factions, a category with specialist games with Blood Bowl and Necromunda and Warcry and Kill Team and everything else. And it doesn't even have to be a Games Workshop because, again, we're not sponsored. I can do whatever I want. So if you want to do a Gundam army, if you want to do a Conflict 47 army, if you want to do Church Crusade, whatever, there is a section for all the other games. You can put your army in there and build it and paint it and enter in the contest. So if you haven't done that yet, definitely make sure you get on the Discord and get into the contest so that you can win potentially the 11th edition launch set. And if not, some cool swag. Totally free. All right. Dirt Hermit wants to know, have they given you crap about the project? No, they have not. I don't know that they know that we are actually doing the project, but I have the feeling that they're going to get contacted and we'll see what happens. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, or why I keep pointing at things, you should join my Patreon, and you would know these things. And we do have 2 levels on the Patreon because the thing that we're working on is really big. And if the really big thing happens, we are going to have founding level members whose names will be credited in what we're doing, and kind of be a part of relaunching this thing. So if you remember Games Workshop being the really cool company that was owned by its workers and was very counterculture and punk, we're trying to bring that back. And if you want to be a part of that, head on over to the Patreon, get signed up, and you'll know everything that's going on. And as soon as I get any updates, you will get the updates too. So there we go. And yeah, we got to be very sneaky purple orky about this until things are approved. Hey, Assault Academy is one of those who joined the WA for the infectious work personality. Perfect. Yeah, no, I know there is a ton of you. I get DMs and emails and stuff all the time from people, comments on the YouTube videos, thanking me, and that they're just brand new to the Orcs or brand new to 40K, decided to join Orcs because of the videos. Super happy to have you guys. You've picked a great time to get into the hobby, and especially to get into Orcs. With us being the antagonist for the next launch box, we're about to get a whole slew of brand new stuff, which means right now is a great time to work on the things that are already out so that you have a nice little army going before the launch box even hits your painting desk. So yeah, fantastic. All right, I saw another tag in here. Let me go back to that. McFadden said, to answer your question, your Chaos Warband will have some word bearers and time-traveling Heresy era Marines that are most likely Blood Angels for lore reasons. Interesting. Time-traveling Heresy era Marines. It almost sounds like you could use some Legion of the Damned. For those of you that don't know what that is, it was a really cool subfaction of Space Marines that was out way back in the day. And they were like Knight Rider style. They were all black with flames on their armor and a bunch of skulls. And the lore is, if the Imperium was like really getting their butt kicked and they needed a miracle, all of a sudden all these fire flame things would appear and the Legion of the Damned would walk out and they would just mow everybody down, and then they'd walk back through the fire and disappear, and that would be that. And the background of it is that it is a literal legion from the 30K era, from the Horus Heresy era, that is like atoning for their legion turning to chaos. And so they are, making up for it by appearing through the warp shenanigans in all these places. They had the sickest metal models. They were so stinking cool. Oh, and Durham says it may be coming back for 11th. Dude, if they did new Legion of the Damned models and they were anywhere near as good as those second edition metal ones, I would be all over that. Like, they were righteous. I did a plastic third edition version. Hey, Larry Smith. Wazdakka, thank you for that, my friend. That is 4 of 10 super chats, getting us closer to our goal, making the YouTube algorithm happy and sharing this to more people to join up to the WOG. Random login name says, I'm tempted to pick up the Sons of Dorn tank box. Oh, we should talk about that. Because those sneak peeks today were not the only thing Games Workshop showed off, and we have got some primetime looting boxes. Have you guys seen this? Like, seriously. Okay, let's share the screen. This is worthy of talking about. This is so good. So again, we're on that end narrative for 10th edition. And part of that end narrative for 10th edition is that we're getting these boxes, these box sets. And some of them are combat patrols and some of them are battalions, which is bigger than a battle force. I'm not sure, but there's battalions. Okay. But check this out. So, first of all, there's Combat Patrol Iron Warriors. Now, this sort of follows that new Combat Patrol system I was talking about in my video a couple of weeks ago. Only instead of having the transport or a faster moving squad, they still the leader. They still have the like 10-man size regular squad. They still have the smaller but more elite squad. But in this one, they added in Terminators instead of something as a transport or fast attack. Now, on the surface, it's like, oh, they broke their new combat patrol already. However, if you just don't do anything fast and they don't do transports, and you can't really give a tank in combat patrol. So them getting Terminators actually kind of works. So these guys would be at a definite disadvantage, probably in the actual like revamped combat patrol game system, because they are not going to be able to kind of go over the battlefield and make things happen. But they're really going to control that home objective. The other thing is, of course, Terminators do deep strike, though. So that would be kind of how they're getting around it. Is more than likely they're going to let the Terminators deep strike in and be on the other board, and they're going to have the survivability to stay there while the rest of the army catches up. So this is actually a really good combat patrol that still works with that concept that we were looking at for combat patrol. So that's Iron Warriors. Yeah, so 5 Havocs, 5 Chaos Terminators, 10 Legionnaires, and a Warp Smith. And the 10 Legionnaires should hopefully have the kill team bits, should be the idea. So yeah, we'll see what's going on with that. Real CJ says, stop calling orcs the antagonists. We always know they're protagonists in any box they're in. Look, we all know that the Warhammer universe is the orcs. The very first 40K mini is right there in that display case, and it is indeed a space orc. Everything in Warhammer exists because we want it to. We want things to crump. We want armies to fight. We like being the antagonists. We just want to go crumping. All right, so here is the box that random login name is talking about. This is the Sons of Dorn Battalion. So this is not a battle force. This is not a combat patrol. It doesn't have to fit into any other like predetermined whatever a box thingy is supposed to be. But man, as a discount box, holy heck, this box is going to sell out absolutely immediately. This is nutter butters. First of all, you get 2 tanks and 2 dreadnoughts. That's the whole box. There's nothing else in it. There's no characters. There's no squad. There's nothing. It's just 2 floaty tanks and 2 big old bad dreads. Now, what you actually get in it is 2 repulsor executioners. So that's the repulsor tank. That's the one that's kind of based on the Land Raider. So it's the bigger, chonkier, floaty tank. And this is the version that has the turret. And then there's different guns for the turret and stuff like that, different loadouts. But that is the repulsor executioner. And then you get a ballistus dreadnought, which is this guy right here with all the guns, all the DACA, and then a redemptor dreadnought. So the ballistus is going to be the push fit guy from the Leviathan launch box. And then the Redemptor is going to be the full build kit. Now, interestingly, they're also going to give you Imperial Fist and Black Templars transfer sheets and a Black Templar upgrade frame, a single Black Templar upgrade frame, which is very interesting that they decided to theme this. But they probably wanted to throw in an extra sprue, like how the combat patrols are getting that kill team sprue, because it helps pad the value in the box thing. Because remember, they like to include like the decal sheets being value in the box. So it kind of helps pad the numbers. So when all these YouTube channels talk about like, well, what are you getting for your money? That they're going to make it, be a lot of value in the box. And they don't really need to do that. I kind of hate that they do it that way. Again, they're a corporate overlord whatever nowadays. They're not the punk rock anti-establishment company that they once were. But I digress. Asmac says he forgot if it was the push fit or the normal dread kit that said it was a pain in the butt to put together. It's the normal one. The push fit kit is super duper easy. It's actually a really well designed, nice kit. The full glue kit, and it's not that there's anything wrong with it, it's that it's fully posable. So, like the legs here, all those joints, you can glue them if you want. So it's really easy to kind of get it wonkified as you're trying to glue it together, just because they made it a little too articulate. The new Terminators, the ones that we turned into Mega Knobs, what the heck were those things called? Anyways, you know what? You guys, the ones with the big shoulder pad things, they were like that too. They had like 22 parts legs, and so it was really easy to get their legs really, really screwy. And their full glue Redemptor Dreadnought is like that as well. So yeah, but yeah, this is that battalion, which is wild. This reminds me of the old Armageddon boxes, or not Armageddon. I've got one right there. Oh, Apocalypse. The Apocalypse spearhead detachments. Do you guys remember the Apocalypse detachment boxes? Those things were huge and they were all vehicle. And yeah, that's what we're looking at, right here is some more of that. So that is pretty darn cool. And again, just getting these things on a discount, yeah, it's gonna be Saturnine. That's it. Thank you, random login name. Saturnine Terminators. Those are the ones that have the terrible legs to build. But no, the this guy right here, the Ballistus, is not only super easy to build. His arms don't glue in, and they go up and down, so you can kind of play with them. And then that front panel over the sarcophagus, you don't have to glue that on. So if you want to leave the bare sarcophagus, you can absolutely still do that. So for being a push fit kit, it's actually really, really cool. And yes, real CJ, every single finger on the Brutalis Dreadnought, every single one of these is an individual piece on the sprue. So you can model his hand however you want. And it's which on the one hand is good, but on the other hand is that's a lot of parts. That this kit is nuts. All right, so there's that battalion, but that's not the only battalion. That's not the only battalion. Get your looting ready. Here's the Adeptus Mechanicus one. It's only 3 vehicles, not 4. But you get the uh what does this say? The Scorpius Dune Rider, which can also be a Scorpius Disintegrator. So this is the Adeptus Mechanicus's like version of a rhino and a razorback. It's actually all open in the back here. It's completely open. And the other version you glue together doesn't have this turret thing on it. It's just open all the way. And it's like a landing tank hovercraft thing. But you could build it either as the transport or as the tank. Pretty darn cool thing to loot. I wonder how cool it is to loot. Did somebody say every kit is an orc kit? I think somebody did. Anyways, so there is that. And then you get the Onager Doom Crawler, which is the like Sentinel / Dreadnought looking top half on the spider leg things that reminds me of the baby head that Sid has in the original Toy Story. That's what I always see when I see that thing. And then the Iron Strider thing here, which has like a couple different build outs that you can build that thing is, which is like 2 legs with a robot head, and then the Mechanicus guy is riding on top with the turret. It's actually a really cool looking model. These models are all ridiculous to build. They're like that Dreadnought. Everything is articulatable. Everything is a separate piece. All these little handrails and things. There's mold lines on everything. It's just, oof, yeah. Real CG. You can kind of play with it. Now I'm picturing old Big Mac on his battle mat with the orcs and beakies doing, "Boy, you kids, I kill you." Yeah, I have my little army men so I can play with them. I love the kits that have movement in them. In fact, my What the heck is that thing called for the Imperial Guard? My brain is not working. The Chimera. My Chimera, all 6 of the las guns in the back still fully articulate. The door goes up and down. The turret goes side to side, and the main gun goes up and down. I even tried to keep the heavy stubber that's pintle mounted. It still moves up and down. It hasn't broken in what's it been like 6 years? Right? So, no, I love when they put articulation in a kit. For me, it's the immersive thing, right? Because again, I like playing narrative. I like playing on battlefields that have a ton of really cool terrain on them, and look really, really immersive and amazing. And when you have a kit that, like, you've got your tank and the turret moves, and you're able to like turn the turret to point at your enemy's model, it is just like that extra little bit of realism that helps sell what you're looking at and like bring you into the story of. So I always appreciate when they include that in kits, and try to keep it working. So yeah, I really like the ballistic dreadnought for that. All right. So yeah, so that's the Adeptus Mechanicus one. I suspect this one will also sell out very fast and be a very popular one because again, Adeptus Mechanicus just takes forever to um, collect and build, and they're really really expensive. So this is a great way to save money on that. And that wasn't even all. They also had this one, Big Stompy Robot Battalion. I mean, you just get 3 knights. It's amazing. They keep putting out these knight boxes that are just multiple knights in a box. I mean, I love it. I love it. This one actually is a little different because they give you the Knight Valiant. So he's the one that's got the big harpoon thingy. He's like the new version. But you can also build him as a Knight Castellan, and then the couple of armigers. So yeah, if you were looking at starting Imperial Knights, if you're looking to add to your Imperial Knights, so if you had any of the Imperial Knight battle forces that came before, they did not have this version of the Knight, right? So it gives you a new Knight for your army, plus a couple more armigers. And again, the armigers you can build is like 4 different ways or 4 different data sheets. So everyone's going to need lots of the armigers. So yeah, that is a sweet kit. So I imagine these battalions, these are going to go quick. So yeah, really, really, really cool. I was super stoked to see be added onto the thing. All right, our 1 hour timer has counted down. My camera is yelling at me for the battery about to die. That's all we get out of these live streams when we do the screen sharing and all that stuff. But it's cool. It works. My voice starts going away after that anyway. So, hey, Real CJ has that Valor Strike Lance in the pile of opportunity. Hey, sounds like a great opportunity for New Year, New Army. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. All right, guys. Any last second questions, throw them in the chat now. Otherwise, we're going to catch you over on the Discord, hopefully with your new armies for the contest. I see my Discord notifications going crazy as those of you in the chat are joining up over there and throwing up your armies for your new projects. Super appreciate that. I will go look at each and every one of them. Again, for those of you that don't know, I am an army guy. That is my thing. That's why I don't play or like get into Kill Team and things like that. It's not that they're not great games. It's not that they're not cool ideas. Just a squad is not enough. It doesn't do it for me. I like looking out at a battlefield and seeing squad upon squad upon squad and vehicle on vehicle on vehicle and going, behold my things, and seeing a whole army. So I love armies. Armies on Parade is my favorite thing of the whole year from Games Workshop. Anytime they do Tale of Four Warlords in White Dwarf, I'm all about it. I love army showcases. Like army is what it's all about. So this is my version of a contest like that to get you guys to put armies together too, so that I can look at all your stuff and be like, yeah, let's go. Let's see. Sonic 4563 asks, what is my ideal loadout for Death Dreads? I like 3 claws and a Scorcha. First of all, it is completely pointless to put any ranged weapon besides a Scorcha on a Death Dread because they are ballistic skill 5. You are going to miss all the time. And especially when you're talking about guns that only have 1 or 2 shots, that is a terrible idea. Yes, I know you can put a little bit mech behind them and then make it a fort to hit, but there's so many terrain shenanigans and squad shenanigans that are going to give it a -1 back down anyway. It's just not happening. Okay, so wasting your points on that doesn't make sense. However, you don't need ballistic skill; it just hits. That also makes people think twice before they charge it because tasty, tasty Overwatch. And then three claws because it just looks the coolest. That's my thing. Three claws and a Scorcha. All of my I magnetized the Death Dread. Never changed his arms in the entire 15, 20 years I owned him. And then eventually just super glued the magnets together and left him three claws on a Scorcha. Yeah. Ooh, Empire's 501st added your last wall protocol to the Discord. Looking forward to seeing that. Ashley Kirk says, hopefully you've seen my green tide on the red table. Ooh, I will go look for that. I will go look for everybody's armies when we're done with this live stream. It is one of my favorite things to do. Dirt Hermit likes a balanced dread with a custom Mega Blaster, rocket, and two claws. Well, yeah, because the two claws are going to hit with every single attack, and the two ranged weapons are going to miss with every single attack, thus giving you perfect balance and feng shui. The Gork to the Mork, if you know what I mean. All right, guys, this has been a really great live stream. Do me a favor and hit the like button on your way out the door. That tells the algorithm that you really liked this chat in this live stream, and it'll recommend it to more people when we do it next Monday because we have been doing it every single Monday evening since all the way back in November. I think we only missed one for the holidays, but even like during the surgeries and all that, we've kept up on these Monday night live streams. And it's been pretty darn awesome. So, everything you guys do helps grow that because again it tells the algorithm to recommend it to more people. Derm, it says lies. Yes, no, quad KMBs is hilarious, and KMBs are the only thing kind of left in Orkdom right now that have the potential to kill you just as much as your opponent, which is one of the core tenets of Orkydom, which is really funny. But yeah, it's I don't know. If you want to actually play it on the battlefield, I wouldn't do that. If you're just looking for ha-has, it's funny. Um, that being said, I probably do own one with four custom Mega Blasts glued together somewhere in all of these massive shame. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on another Monday night for another hobby hangout. Looking forward to all the new orc stuff coming. Looking forward to all your armies for the contest. Tell your friends not to miss out. Again, old Big Mick doing everything on his own, shipping it direct to you. No sponsors or anything like that. You're not going to hear about any shapes of spaces or anything like that here. So if you want to support the channel, all those likes, all those thumbs up, go watch another video. If you really want to support the channel, go hit up the merch store, get yourself some gear, and keep an eye out for our new stuff coming soon. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Until next time, Waga! 3, 2, 1, end.